Cat, shut up!
Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is
Morning somewhere!
for August 12th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. Her weekend at the box office was just fine. Ashley Burns. Say hi to Ashley, everybody.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
So we did an impromptu test of gaming night for the patrons on Patreon last night. We played Fall Guys because it was the easiest thing to get together a mass group of people to play a big game with. And Ashley got eliminated.
Like first every single time. So yeah, this was it's fun. It's I've been aware of Fall Guys because of course it was the streamer's game of choice a while back, but I had never played it until last night. So this was my first time out. I had the fully default avatar. I noticed you sprang for a hot dog.
I wanted to be recognizable in there. I had a mechanical hot dog.
A hot dog.
Hot dog.
So it was a fun time, and thank you to everyone who was able to join us for that. I think we'll be able to do more of those in the future. It was a very successful test.
Yeah. Not based on your rankings and your placement within the Fall Guys competition, but
Look,
overall,
my role fell more towards the sort of spectator commentator. It was fun. We had a lot of people in the Discord hop into a voice channel, and everyone was chatting and having a nice time while playing the game.
You were probably distracted by the fact that the Ryan Gosling movie was such a terrible interpretation of that game.
Yeah, really,
nothing like it whatsoever.
I just don't even understand how they considered that an adaptation. It was practically original material.
So, leading into Borderlands had a terrible weekend.
Yes.
$8.8 million opened in fourth place.
Yes, and so from what I've read, and this is according to Deadline, it took $110 to $120 million to make, to produce the film, an additional $30 million spent on prints and advertising. So it would need to make at least that back to break even. And with an opening of $8.8 million, that's domestic. I think it took in about the same internationally for around $16 million. I think it's going to have a very, very difficult time making that budget back. What do you think?
Can I say, I'm just tired of saying print and advertising. Can we just start putting that in the budget? Also, it's like,
Sure.
who cares about domestic box office anymore? Like, why do we separate U.S. box office
Domestic publications care.
from the rest of the world? Do
And
they really?
I mean, sure.
I mean, you just want to know how much the movie made. Like, you want to know how much the movie cost altogether. You want to know how much the movie made altogether. All this little this and that, this biggest opening of a comedy on a Wednesday night. Who gives a shit?
Look,
about all that stuff?
this is where it comes down to different departments being like, well, we did this and we made this.
Oh, I see.
It's a breakdown of the thing. So there's production versus advertising. I get that. I understand why you would call those different things because the people in charge of the production may not be in charge of the advertising.
Fair play. All right. Well, coming in at number one was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Again.
$54 million.
Crossed $1 billion. Congratulations.
It Ends With Us did $50 million at the box office. And I feel like a lot more people were talking about Borderlands than It Ends With Us.
Well, Borderlands is the train wreck you can rubberneck at, right?
Sure.
And also, the kinds of people that we would be talking to are going to be talking about Borderlands, not It Ends With Us.
Twisters and then Borderlands at 4. Twisters did $15 million. Borderlands $8.8 million. This is an interesting one. Trap is in at 6. Despicable Me was at 5. So it's just above those two. They've been in theaters for a while, at least now. I guess Trap is in its second week only. I read an interesting story about M. Night Shyamalan that I had never heard about M. Night Shyamalan
Okay,
before.
go ahead.
Apparently but as with everything with this director, any conversation about this guy is going to be a spoiler. Like, this is like the modern day. This is why people use the word spoilers, because of this guy's work. So just heads up on this. But it's from a movie that was 10 years ago, which Ashley famously spoiled for me in dramatic fashion.
Okay, look, I didn't know. Okay, you tell the story.
Here it comes. Here comes the story.
Here's what happened.
3, 2, 1, spoiler begins, go.
Here's what happened.
This is for the movie Split.
Yes, so this is the movie Split starring, it was McAvoy, right?
McAvoy,
And in it he
and Anya
plays
Taylor-Joy?
Oh,
in
was that
in an
her?
early role. Yeah.
Goodness. And he plays this split personality character and does a brilliant job. And I had read an article before we sat down to watch the movie because we didn't see it in theaters. We watched it at home. And I read some article that was saying...
You're prefacing all this. Let me tell you exactly what happened from my perspective. We had not heard anything about this M. Night Shyamalan movie. We go to watch this movie. We sit down to watch it, and literally the credits are rolling. The credits are rolling. And Ashley says, as the opening credits are rolling, so this is in the Unbreakable universe? And I didn't know that at all. There was a big Easter egg or like reveal at the end of the movie or a twist. They revealed that it was part of Unbreakable. And Bruce Willis's character from Unbreakable appears at the end of it. And
Okay.
you took me like right up. You ever see these big thing with the Olympics now? Do you see these celebration videos where people are celebrating right before they cross the finish line?
Yeah, and then
Somebody passes them at the last second who's like staying locked in the entire time. I feel like that was me. I was prematurely celebrating. I know nothing about this movie. This is going to be great. And then you just fucking snake by.
Okay, so here's the thing. Is I also didn't know anything about this movie. It was in
You knew one thing.
It was in the headline of an article I'd read. I didn't know why that might be important. I thought maybe it was important to the premise or something because I didn't know if it mattered. And can I just go out there and I'm just going to say this. You've had this grudge for like years now.
It's just
and
a funny
I got to
story.
say, it wasn't that important to the movie.
I just thought it was funny timing.
Uh-huh.
That's
Yeah,
incredible
sure.
timing. You have to admit it.
It was pretty.
Grudge. Like, what am I doing?
You bring it up a lot.
Like when she's having breakfast, I walk by and like knock her glass over. And like, that was for Split. I almost said spilt, by the way, when I said that. So this story relates to that. So I read that M. Night Shyamalan, he funded Split himself. And I want to say it was a Universal movie.
So
or
this
something.
is his Megalopolis?
And it was a different.
This is his Horizon?
It was a different studio than Unbreakable, which was Disney, I believe. And apparently, because he self-funded it, the current studio for Split, didn't know it was a sequel to a movie from a different studio until they saw it in the screenings. And then his reply to them was, "Don't worry, I already got permission." And that was it. Can you imagine that?
What?
He makes a sequel to a movie from a different studio without telling anybody and gets away with that. How does this guy do it? How does he do it?
I mean, I guess if you don't reference the IP or if you don't use any names, then even if it's a similar concept, it could be done, right?
Bruce
Otherwise,
Willis appears as the hooded Avenger or
he
whatever.
does.
He's in it. He's in the end of it. He's sitting at the thing, and they reference the character Glass.
Oh, he's in the end of it, is he?
In Split, yeah.
So now, I thought you meant Trap.
No, not Trap. I'm saying Split. I'm saying
you
Split.
were spoiling the end of Trap now.
Yeah, Trap is a sequel to Unbreakable. It might be for all I know. I have avoided everything about Trap. I wonder if that's in long term, if that's a detriment to M. Night's career, because he's in a position where you, at least I do, actively avoid anything about marketing for his movies. I don't want to know. And it all goes back to that first movie, The Sixth Sense. It all goes back to that.
Well, and there were a couple of bangers right early on. He had Signs as well, I thought.
You think Signs was a banger? I thought Signs was like a classic sophomore effort.
Was it?
That's the way it was considered at the time. It is weird.
It's no Lady in the Water or whatever that was.
Oh, Lady in the Water, which I actually kind of liked. I mean, it was kind of I like different kind of unique original stories. Lady in the Water, what was the one with Guillermo del Toro did that was the lady who falls in love with the swamp creature?
Oh, I'm going to look that up because that
Weight
was
of
a
Water?
weird one. Yes,
Weight of
something
Water.
like that.
Yeah. Anyway, it's funny because sometimes it's age-based, right? Like, when Signs came out, everyone who was an adult and had watched Sixth Sense was like really excited for Signs, and they felt like it was a little bit of a letdown.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, thank you. What's Weight of Water? Something totally different.
It's 1 gram.
We'll look at Weight of Water before we lose the thread here entirely. But it's kind of like the Star Wars prequels. When the Star Wars prequels came out, they were incredibly disappointing. But then you find out that the younger generation who hadn't seen anything else and saw that really enjoyed it. And I feel like Signs is the same way. I think younger people like Signs more than older people do.
Maybe that's a fair analysis. The Weight of Water, by the way, is a 2000 mystery thriller film directed by Catherine Bigelow, based on Anita Shreve's novel of the same name. It's starring Elizabeth Hurley, Catherine McCormick, Sean Penn, and others. Juxtaposes 19th century murder with a contemporary woman's obsession with unsolved crime.
And it's a sequel to Unbreakable. Who knew? Who knew? So anyway, so it's interesting. I'm curious if other people feel the same way. Do you avoid M. Night Shyamalan movies, the marketing for them and such? I find that I do, which has to hurt in the long run.
Not only do you not want to know anything about it, but you don't know if this is going to be one of the good ones.
Yeah, that's right. And it's always the twist too, right? You're always expecting the twist. So if you go in expecting a twist.
Yeah, you're watching for the twist in all of his films all the time.
Ironic that he didn't do as well as Twisters. Ironic in the modern environment. All right, let's get off of movies.
Okay.
Borderlands did poorly. Randy Pitchford had a really tough weekend on X.com.
Did he?
I don't want to say X anymore. I just want to say Twitter. People know what Twitter is. They don't know what X is.
I don't think anyone cares what X is.
It just sounds stupid when you say X, I think. So I'm just going to say Twitter from now on. I'm done. I'm done saying Twitter and X.
All right, go ahead.
Best the Randy Pitchford Gearbox project, go.
Best?
Yep.
Fucking Borderlands 2.
Halo PC. They were the people.
What?
They were the people who took
They were Halo PC?
Uh-huh. They did the original Halo Combat Evolved port to PC.
Did not know that.
Very good.
I first encountered them with Brothers in Arms.
Okay, fair enough.
So the Olympics have closed, Bernie.
They're done.
They're
Closing
done.
ceremonies are over.
They're there. This is officially
We're
done.
on our way to where we go next?
LA.
LA.
And I can tell you that because my Olympian of the day, Bernie, is Tom Cruise.
Why is Tom Cruise your Olympian of the day?
Because Tom Cruise did a Tom Cruise and like dived into the stadium on this like, I don't know, like zip line thing. Basically, he basically just jumped into the stadium and then like got on a motorcycle and took the flag.
What, like stole it? Like a Mission Impossible mission?
Sort of. It seems like they were
Is this part of a movie or is this just part of the closing ceremony?
No, although it'd be hilarious if they were actually filming it for one of his Mission Impossible movies because he does have one coming out next year.
They had to think about it. Like there's some reason
But
why he
that's
needs
also
the Olympic
like
flag.
think about this though. It's also like the most Hollywood thing they could do, and they're taking it to LA.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't know this was a thing with the closing ceremonies, but they sort of do this handover in like style and like honoring the new city. And so they had like Billie Eilish performed and he did his Tom Cruise-ness and took the flag off to LA. So that's where the next Summer Olympics will be. And I bet they bring ice hockey.
I will watch anything with Tom Cruise in it. I know he also is kind of a contentious character sometimes, not on screen, but off screen. I love Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is like the last major movie star. I really do.
It is an interesting thing, right? There's a lot of movies that have been coming out that have these wild casts, these A-list casts, but people don't necessarily go see them. Like a lot of people are saying the age of movie stars is kind of over. Tom Cruise is a movie star.
I'm gonna say something pretty controversial at this point in time, and I'm gonna suggest something very controversial right now, since we're on the topic.
Okay.
Before we started this podcast, I showed you a clip from something I had seen. This will lead us nicely into the Disney discussion, I think, when we start talking about D24. What are they
23.
D23? Why do they call it that?
I don't know.
Because wouldn't it be 2023?
Ooh, I don't know.
Wouldn't this be D24?
Why is it D23? Maybe it's because it's one.
Maybe it's D24 now and you're just wrong.
What is D23 stand for?
Did you know it's in the Unbreakable universe? Did you know that? So I was showing Ashley this thing.
1923. The year that Disney started.
Oh, is that really what it's really?
I
That's
guess
what
so.
it is? So Disney just had its 100th anniversary, and then
Yep.
somehow listen, there are a lot of Disney adults out there. I'm not one of them. I don't worship at the altar of Disney the way that some people do. Okay, so I'm gonna say things that are gonna be really offensive to people whenever we talk about Disney. Anyway, I'm gonna put this in a link dump. Watch it or don't watch it. Don't care. I thought it was interesting. It was a YouTube channel I found that does 1950s Panavision send-ups, all AI generated, 100% AI generated of popular IP. And that's going to be a very controversial thing if you want to go look at this. I think they're interesting and they're interesting thought experiments. I think it's a pretty safe way to look at AI stuff because no one's going to make this kind of thing, right?
No, I mean this was you sent me one, and it was like 50s Panavision style Charmed, the series of like the Magical Witch Sisters, and you're right, no one's gonna make that.
No one's going to make it.
But it was very interesting to
We'll
look at.
post the X-Men
'cause
one.
you
That'll
could
probably be the
see-
most,
Yeah.
like, the widest net, the highest level of interest on a broad scope.
But yeah, it was. I found it very eerie.
Eerie is a good word.
It was cool. Like it's one of those things where you see it and it's like it's cool, but it also like as you're watching it and you're saying this is cool, it's also creeping you out in the back of your mind because aside from like typing the prompt, no one made this.
So we'll link them in the link dump if you're interested in that.
But moving on to totally officialness, that's D23 happened this weekend.
Okay, this ends our M. Night Shyamalan spoilers.
Happened this weekend, and as you'd expect with Bob Iger back at the helm, they made a lot of announcements, and it was sequel. So they announced Incredibles 3, they announced Toy Story 5, which I was like, where are you even going to go with this? I thought we were done.
Yeah.
And then you showed me one still frame. And I was like, oh God, now I have to see it.
Yeah.
And it was of this little kid under the covers with like their iPad or something, and all the toys at the end of the bed just looking on sadly. And I was like, oh God damn it, now I have to see it, because I think it's going to be about, screens replacing play for a lot of kids.
I like it because one of the things I learned from Inside Out too is that parents need a way to be able to communicate with their kids about modern important issues. And I think this is a very modern important issue, is screen time with kids. And now you have a thing where you can have these characters dealing with it and what it means to imagination and play and things like that. At least I'm conjecturing a lot from one screenshot.
Also, if I may, I would much rather Disney guilt my children and tell them that their toys are going to be sad.
Yeah, exactly.
then I have to do it directly.
This is also, by the way, there was a whole 10-year period after Toy Story where you couldn't throw away toys anymore. That was done. You couldn't give them away.
Can't do it.
They had to live with you forever.
They're gonna be sad.
Yeah.
Can
I say also though, I appreciate the irony that everyone is responding to this image from Toy Story 5, but I'm sure the actual scenario in which that takes place is someone holding a screen, looking at that image on their screen and going, "Oh yeah,
Aww.
we got to talk to kids about this." Fucking hypocrites. We're all hypocrites.
They've announced Frozen 3, which also I don't know what they're going to do with, because I feel like everyone's stories were pretty well wrapped up. So who knows where they're going to go, but they're going to go there. Look, of course they are. It's two of the top animated films of all time, which brings us to the top animated film of all time, Lion King.
Yes.
That's
Not
animated, not animated, and that is getting
You should call it unimated.
Unimated.
That's what it is. That's our new term, unimated.
It's getting a prequel called Mufasa.
Is it?
Yes. So they're doing another live action Lion King, but this one is focusing on how Scar and Mufasa became close and potentially then not close again.
So would these be the Lion Princes, basically? Is that what this is?
I guess
Before they're the Lion Kings?
Sort of, although maybe possibly Scar's actually the prince. I don't know yet. This is gonna be a weird one, and we'll see how that goes. But of course, because it is so high in the box office, of course this was coming. And Bob Iger does love his sequels. Zootopia 2 is coming. And on the subject of Inside Out, it is getting a series on Disney+.
Inside Out's getting a series?
Yeah,
they
called,
shouldn't do that.
Well, it's called Dream Productions, and it's going to be like the dreams that the girl is having between Inside Out and Inside Out 2.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, that makes sense. That's good.
Yeah, so that's
so
where
it's
that
a
one's going to go.
mid-quel, basically?
Yeah.
Like series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a couple originals they've, I don't know if this is newly announced or just newly shown, but they showed one called Elio, where it's like a boy, like this kid accidentally becomes like the representative of humans in like the alien community, which sounds adorable. And then a new one that they've just announced called Hoppers, where like a girl does like a body jump into like a robotic beaver to learn about the animal world, which I think Finn is going to love that one.
Yeah. That's
Because
interesting.
he loves learning about the animal world.
If you like that, if you like the concept of that, Ashley, especially when you talk about him going to a beaver, there's a series of books called the Bobaverse books. You'd have to go.
Is that We Are Bob?
Yeah, you'd have to go like
We Are Legion, We Are Bob?
3 books in to get to something like what you're talking about. But that's there's some of that stuff in the Bobaverse books.
Okay, well, that's great. So you can start reading Bobaverse to Finn before bedtime. That's going to go great.
I have a copy of The Princess Bride, and I'm going to start reading to the kids now. Princess Bride, we're going to start reading like chapter. Because we always read the books, like I have to read the same, like children's storybooks.
Yeah, like Super Tato or whatever is the story of the moment.
Super Potato. I can recite it from memory right now. I will not.
The
Baddies, that's the current one, The Baddies.
The Baddies, yeah.
With the witch. It's really kind of creepy. Like there's a witch, a ghost, and a troll in that.
Oh, very Halloween focused.
Yeah. It's like not something I want to read to a kid before bed, I mean, there's some of that stuff in Princess Bride, though, too. But we're going to start doing that. So we're going to start reading like a long form story chapter at a time. I never really had that as a kid. I always had the encapsulated, you get your 15, 20 pages, and then that's all you get.
Yeah. And
Did you do that? Like
and then go to bed, kid. I don't remember. The first thing I really remember of reading was my fourth grade teacher dared me to read all of My Friend Flicka in a week, and she bet me that I couldn't do it. And I was like, I bet you that I can. And I did. And she was like, good job.
Good job.
Yep.
Gold star.
It was like 400 pages. Yeah, I was in fourth grade.
Well, that started you. I mean, because you're a voracious reader.
I am.
Voracious.
I am. I went from there into the Black Beauties of the world, and then there was a series about, I don't know, horses pulling carts, and they really loved racing these little chariot things. I don't even remember what it was, but I went full into horses and then took a hard right into dragons.
Before we get too far away from Disney, can I tell you about something cool that I saw?
You
Not
may.
related to Disney, but tangential to
Yeah,
there.
go ahead.
Somebody had a video clip of over what is going to be something called Epic Universe, I guess, at Universal Studios Parks
Okay.
in Orlando. Ashley, I'll send you this clip here. This is a clip of what looks to be an animatronic dragon flying through the sky over the park. So they're gonna have
awesome.
They're gonna have dragons flying over the park, and I'm sure it's some combination of like drones and Mylar and stuff like that.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Don't care.
It looks pretty cool.
This is suspension of disbelief. I just want to believe there's a dragon flying over Universal.
It says I'm going to piss people off by sharing an AI thing today. I'm going to piss people off further. My Olympian of the day is actually a diver, Andrea from the Team GB diving team. And they placed third. They got bronze in the team diving, but she failed to medal in her individual event. And it's a clip of her and her dad talking to each other and him consoling her about not getting a medal. And it's just like...
You sent this to me, and I teared up watching it.
It's
I really
such
did.
a beautiful relationship between the dad and the athlete. And, he's such a small part of that. It's like your parents push you and things like that and help you get there. But it's like it just shows like at the end of it, China and the U.S. tied for gold medals. But the story is all the people who got to compete at the Olympics and how important it was for them and how long they've worked on it. And you can just see all of that and the resilience in her face. And she did get a medal, but she didn't medal in this event. And she's just like watching her deal with that is really tough. And having someone like her dad there just really spoke to me.
No, it's a beautiful clip, and it's really nice just showing this bond of family and supportive dads. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it, and it's nice to see as well because I feel like the Olympics just had to go out on a shit show. Have you been following?
This is my controversy thing. I know what you're going to say.
Are you following the gymnastics thing?
Oh, no.
Oh, you have a different one. No, so the gymnastics floor, the bronze medal is like the weirdest thing that's been happening.
I heard about this. I don't understand how it could happen.
Okay, so what happened is basically there were two gymnasts who ended up with the same score. One of them had a 0.1 deduction for her heel going out of the boundary. Video later showed that it did not, but the deduction remains because they didn't appeal it within the appeal window.
They have video replay on gymnastics?
Well, I mean, they have recorded video of the thing happening, but they didn't make the appeal until after the appeal window closed.
Yeah.
And then the American gymnast, she had an appeal. They raised her score, so then she got bronze. Then they decided that appeal came in 4 seconds too late, so they're taking it back.
Oh, wow.
They're taking back the bronze, and
That's a rug pull,
like
man.
It's this ridiculous thing. So basically, the girl who got bronze, or who's now getting bronze, has been very measured about the whole thing, and basically saying that like the athletes don't deserve this. The judges seem completely disorganized and like they don't have it together. The athletes suggested sharing the bronze.
Which has happened before.
Which has happened before. It's not unprecedented, but each sport basically determines its own rules, and the gymnastics, had said no.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, they're going back and being like, hey, American, give us back the bronze where it's going over here.
Yeah.
It's
rough.
it feels very unprofessionally handled. And I feel for the athletes because
And she has
they're
the medal.
all doing they gave
It's
her
not
the
like
medal.
at the Oscars, they give you an Oscar on stage. That's not your Oscar.
Right.
Like
they take that back off
Yeah.
you, and then they'll like ship you one or one. Do you have to pay for the
I think
Oscar,
you get
do
it at the end of the night still, but it's
Okay.
like, I mean, that the idea of having to give it back, like that's actually your bronze medal that you were awarded on the podium is just like, oh my God, that's gotta be tough.
So it's absolutely like miserable shit show for the end of gymnastics.
All right, really quickly, because we're running long here. Since I was going to say I was going to be controversial about this anyway, where I was heading with that was my Olympic athlete, not of the day, or my not Olympian of the day, is the Australian breakdancing lady who has become a meme now. And I'm just like, I get that everyone thinks it's funny. I don't really find it funny. I mean, this is the Olympics. There's some things where you can like show up and goof around where you know you don't belong. And I feel like this lady should have known she doesn't belong at the Olympics. And I think she's hurt all like the sport, or whatever you want to call it, or art going into the Olympics. It's like there's a lot of people who worked really hard to be there. And I just feel like this is a fucking goof and I can't stand it. Her performance was just completely objectively bad. It was a really terrible performance. I don't know how anyone could look at that and say like what she was doing was a real performance in breakdance.
No, and it was weird too. The thing is, I've seen, that's not the first time that's happened at the Olympics. There was a skier who went through and figured out how to qualify for the Olympics without actually being able to even ski, basically, and managed it and went to the Olympics and basically did pizza French fries all the way down the hill. It was just like, what, you're watching it going, what is happening right now?
Every now and then they get somebody who thinks it's about them.
It felt a little bit like that.
Yeah, it feels like they're making it about them, right? And meanwhile, I hear about these Olympians who struggle their whole life to go and compete in the Olympics. Some of them can't even afford rent while they're going. Like Flavor Flav has to show up and pay for people's the ladies water polo team in order for them to compete and things like that.
Yeah,
there was another Olympian who couldn't pay rent, and other people stepped up and paid her rent so she could go. And then like when somebody shows up and makes a goof out of it, like who's the gold medalist in breaking? Nobody knows. They're all just sharing memes about this lady. This was the first time this was ever going to be in the Olympics, and it's like now this lady has taken over the entire conversation about it.
Yes.
It's not entirely her fault, but you should know better. Honestly, you should know better. It just sucks that people show up and do stuff like that. Anyway, that's my controversial statement.
All right.
It's like when Ashley plays Fall Guys. It's like you have to represent the team well. You got to show up. You got to get past the first round occasionally.
How dare you? I got past the first round like once.
By the way, that is the dumbest game of all time.
It's fantastic.
It's basically just like clumsy racing.
It's a fun game. I do enjoy it. We're only a couple of years late to this, but but welcome to our stream game of choice for 2024.
We're also
everybody.
a decade late to streaming, but there you go. What are you gonna do? This is the life we chose.
The life we chose.
All right.
Speaking of things that we've chose, I would like to thank our sponsors for today, Buggy52, who, by the way, did join us for game night last night and represented and actually got past the first tier many times. And Banana Mangler. Thank you both for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere. Bernie, don't laugh. This is a very serious matter.
All right. Well, thank you, Buggy and Banana Mangler. We appreciate all your support. All right. Well, that does it for us today, August 12th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you tomorrow. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.